Yeah, she has it.
Who has it?
Right here. Okay, thank you. My speech. And your speech is in the back. Great, thank you. Got it? Are we doing this? Is it recording? Somebody is it recording? Stand back there.
Yes, it's recording.
Can I get a sign? Okay. That was gold. Okay. Hey, come get a sign. Can I get a sign? Okay, perfect.
And then we'll...
Can you get a sign for Reverend Al? There you go.
I'll see you guys in City Hall. Given that I'm a task force, I don't feel comfortable like being in that picture.
Everybody get in the photo. And
Yeah, you're good. If you're ready, I can have Pia come out. Let's do it. Or you want to wait for Council Member Villas? Let's have it now. He's here.
okay.
We have our own media person.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Okay, Reverend Al, I think you're up. Bree, you stand back here behind Reverend Al. You're going first, right? Is Reverend Al going first?
Reverend Al's going first.
Okay, Reverend Al, go ahead, you're up.
Yeah, go.
Speak loudly. So the cameras can hear you. Ben, maybe you want to ask those girls to... Yep, we're ready.
So good afternoon. My name is Alfred Adams, and I'm the pastor of New Brown Memorial Baptist Church in Red Hook. All right? Yes, let's give that up. All right. And my goal today at this meeting, at this place that we're at right now, City Hall, I'm here to bring community awareness to the BMT project. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right. One of my concerns as a pastor of New Brown Memorial Baptist Church is my people, my flock, those that I feed every week are unaware of the project that's taking place. How do I know? They told me so, and it's very alarming to me. I always say that our people, my people, suffer from a lack of knowledge, and it's my job to bring knowledge to the people, especially my congregation of Red Hook. Is that all right? Yeah. So a few of my concerns, besides being unaware, is we have supposedly representatives that are on our task force that's supposed to be bringing information to us. However, there are too many voices saying too many different things, and we won't stand for it. All right? Yeah. We want transparency. We want understanding. We want to make sure that our voices are heard. Because if there's no voice from the people of Red Hook, then the vote to me doesn't take into account the people that live in Red Hook. Is that all right? Yeah. Many of my people live in the NYCHA housing projects, and they are the ones that are most concerned. We're concerned about gentrification. We're concerned about rising taxes. We're concerned about property taxes going up. We're concerned that we're going to get moved out. This might not be the case, but we're not getting proper information. Only thing we're asking is for information transparency. Is that all right? Yeah. All right. Another one of my concerns is we hear a lot of the positives, but we don't hear anything about the negatives. If these buildings of EDC is to put these luxury housings on this front, what happens to us? We want to know what happens to our infrastructures. What happens to our stores, our mom and pop stores? There's so many things that we are unaware of, and my job here, especially at New Brown, is to bring awareness. Is that all right? Yeah! The final thing is that I want to say, and my minutes might be up, is everyone's voice should be heard. New Brown Memorial has a place thank goodness to the voices of the waterfront as we made the connection. They have a place at New Brown where they can come and not feel bullied.
Yes.
They can get information that they need. They can talk freely and gain understanding so we can bring it back out to our community. I am Pastor Alfred Adams for the New Brown Memorial Baptist Church. Thank God.
You're up. I think you're the next representative.
What's up?
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Look, the residents of Red Hook and Columbia Waterfront have been contending with years of disinvestment and disregard by New York City and the New York, New Jersey Port Authority. From original urban renewal displacement of local residents to create the port long ago, to the various cycles of disregard by New York City and state agencies, it's no wonder why the future of the Brooklyn Marine Terminal has been a hotbed issue for our community. I have been an avid supporter of the working waterfront and a modern port facility that would be a healthier option for our community. I pushed into this process in good faith to ensure that the interests and health and wellness of our residents were looked after. And yet, in just a few months, EDC has proved that the port was a means to an end, not the central focus, as it claimed. EDC thinks its potential hundreds of hours of circular and frustrating conversations with residents that offered meaningless and little information qualifies as sufficient community outreach. It does not. To EDC, an appropriate use of our working waterfront, the only port east of the Hudson River with access to millions of people that could create a permanent array of good-paying jobs in the maritime and green industries, is to diminish it to its lowest common denominator and surround it by luxury towers and thousands of new residents. They want to remove half, 50% of the industrial land that would be used to generate jobs and revenue for our city and our community, and a mere 100,000 square feet allocated for light industrial in a luxury tower. This will not make Brooklyn affordable for anyone. We know that the surrounding working class community will only be negatively impacted by an influx of wealthy residents to an already ignored and underinvested neighborhood. In fact, there's little to nothing in this plan for its current residents. It is simply selling off community land to real estate because the city and the state has decided that it is not important enough. Don't get it twisted though. The uses, EDC uses words like historic opportunity and once in a lifetime, but they have committed little to no public dollars in this effort. And yet they ram these plans down our throats and jeopardize our health and wellness, and yet they seemingly have no ethical obligation to support our community residents. Do you know where the city invests its money? They spent $750 million for a bike lane in Manhattan. They spent $544 million to make Fifth Avenue here in Manhattan prettier.
Shame.
They spent $2 billion for the bus depot here in Manhattan.
Shame.
And here a mere $100 million and we're supposed to be grateful? This is an absurdity. So I guess I'm just gonna say here, despite this community engagement that the EDC has proposed, I want you to know that the 3 plans that we have been offered was the first plan, what I I call the absurd model. 13,000 luxury houses on public land. The second plan was the less absurd model. The one that you run to when you look at the first absurd model. That's the one we currently have. The EDC provided no other alternative model here. It provided us the absurd one we would run away from towards the less absurd one, and then nothing at all. In fact, the third plan that they proposed was the threat of noxious facilities to our community. I cannot say it enough how deeply offended I am by this third option. That people who work for the government, for this city, would threaten the public health and interest of the residents that it is supposed to protect and serve with more noxious facilities. It is disgusting. And so, my friends, we're gonna continue to be here to fight. I came into this process, I pushed my way into this process to make sure I could help to ensure that our residents were centered. And unfortunately, we see that is not the case. That they have alternative plans and they are going to threaten us all the way to the end. But I have a message for every last one of them. We will continue to fight to protect our residents, our health and wellness, and the public good. Because the government should not be selling off our public land, the only port east of the Hudson River, to give it to luxury developers. So I'm just gonna say, while they have offered trinkets to our residents, and they have been divisive in our community to peel us off and have us fight with each other, we are very clear with what is happening here. We are very clear on the game that they are playing. We will not be manipulated, and we will continue to keep our eye on the ball that this is not okay. And we will continue to fight for our interests. And so with that, I want to thank you all. Thank you to the residents that have worked so hard to support each other, to give each other the information, and to make sure that we are focused. They are trying to okey-doke us. They are trying to okey-doke us, and we will not be okey-doked because we are clear with what is happening here. This is not a different story. This is the same story of Atlantic Yards. It's the same story of displacement of working people all over this city. And so thank you again for being here. I look forward to seeing you all at the hearing, and I'm going to run away because I need to give them hell. Great champions in New York City, the public advocate, Jumaane Williams.
Re-elect Jumaane! Re-elect Jumaane! Re-elect Jumaane!
Thank you. Peace and blessings. Love and light to everybody. Thank you to Councilmember Velez, Councilmember Anik, and especially the community, Voice of the Waterfront, Pastor. Thank you to everybody for being here. And thank you for not allowing the divisive nature to divide the community. Thank you for staying strong and building a coalition. There's not a good track record here. And what's frustrating to me is when EDCs, they keep saying they're trying to do things for the community, but not listening to the community. And so I'm really tired of government doing things to the community when they could be doing things with the community. There's a lot of good ideas here of what can be done. None of them says build luxury housing. I gotta tell you, I don't think you can speak to anyone in this city and they would say, you know, what we need right now is more luxury housing. And so it is a spit in the face of New Yorkers who are really, really struggling to find housing that EDC would say their primary thing they're going to do is build luxury housing. That's absolutely not what we need right now. And I got to tell you, the councilman mentioned Atlanta Yards. They're still waiting for the housing that was promised in Atlanta Yards. What is it, 2 decades now? They're still waiting for that. And we have an opportunity to do things right. You don't have to do it quickly. Slow it down so that we can figure out what the best way to use our resources is. Luxury housing is not the best way. There are so many things going on. Folks are talking about trying to build a blue highway. Folks are saying we actually need affordable housing. This is also actually a flood zone. So you're talking about building housing without changing the environment so that it's no longer a flood zone. And once again, they're trying to do an end run right through it, all right? New York, baby. They're trying to do an end run around the local process called ULURP. They tried this at Penn Station, GPP. It collapsed miserably because you should not try to go around the local people and what they want to see done. Period. Especially when what they want to see done is actually what's needed for the people of the city of New York. So EDC, I don't want you to have egg on your face again like you did at Penn Station. Just listen to us now. Just slow this down. Let's go through the ULURP process. Let's figure out what is the best thing to do. And we all can agree, or we should agree, luxury housing ain't it. Stop getting communities to fight each other.
That's right.
Because we are focused on fighting you to make sure that what we get with these resources are what the city actually needs. So I'm proud to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And now it's my pleasure.
Re-elect Jumaane Williams. Re-elect Jumaane Williams. Re-elect Jumaane Williams.
I'm here on the governor's side, so I can't say nothing. But I just want to say I'm very happy to introduce another fighter, another champion, who I'm looking forward to working with again next year. Councilmember Shahana Anis.
Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana.
When I say people, you say power. People! Power! People! Power! People! Power! People! Power! You are bringing power to City Hall today.
That's right.
And we need to be disciplined, firm, and get our message across. The communities that overlap the Brooklyn Marine Terminal are flood zones. There's a concrete recycling facility. Lack of transportation, or rather no network transportation, and much, much more. At a time of an affordability crisis, to know that the size of the housing will be mostly market rate is dangerous. That will push people out of our city. And the concrete recycling facility. We have been fighting for over a year now to get this site closed. Constituents are sick. Constituents are coughing and advocating to close this. It should not be on them to close the concrete recycling facility.
Shut it down.
We need to shut it down. Shut it down. So for me, before I even talk about the BMT, the concrete recycling facility has to go. And any kind of activity that is or would mimic what's happening on the recycling facility, I will be rejecting. In this moment, we must put pressure on our government to listen to the community. This is a neighborhood that will be growing in a couple of years. It's a whole neighborhood that they want to expedite into a very tight process. But that's not how we've made neighborhoods
before in the past. The Gowanus rezoning, it took 10 years. And there were a lot of stakeholders from the community involved, engaged. And there were a lot of disagreements. There was a lot of coming back to making sure that needs were truly, truly met for the communities there. So I'm pushing for a later date of the vote. I am pushing to close that damn concrete recycling facility.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to listen to my constituents. I represent them. I don't represent EDC or the mayor. I want to be clear. I want to be clear about that.
Are you voting no?
Are you voting now?
If I'm on June 18th or yeah.
Thank you. Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana. Re-elect Shahana. I think Carolina, right? Ben, is Carolina next or is there somebody else?
No, it's Carolina.
Okay, Carolina Salguero from Portside, New York.
Getting a picture of me with all of you behind me, I hope. Not big enough, but okay. All right. So I'm Carolina Salguero of the Maritime Nonprofit Portside, New York. And here's the baseline. The EDC is distributing misinformation and disinformation and ignoring and erasing other information. This applies to their maritime concepts and the whole process. So the EDC's BMT plan conflicts with the city's own policies of the Waterfront Revitalization Program of the Department of City Planning. That's from 2016. Maritime has surged since then. We're now the busiest port in the nation. The e-commerce boom is clogging streets, leading to the city efforts, the EDC and DOT, to move freight by water. So that's the Marine Highway or Blue Highway you're hearing a lot about. Portside has a whole blog post about that if you want more information. There is an acute need for maritime space. The EDC denies that. They said so in a BMT all-hands meeting last Thursday. The EDC is erasing maritime tenants at BMT in their presentations. Lehigh Maritime, Manhattan by Sail, Portside, New York, the Tug and Barge Port importing sand and stone into the container port, Vane Brothers fuel barges. EDC plans don't show any space for Vane, even though they fuel all the container ships and cruise ships coming to the port. I'm like, hello? The speed of the BMT planning process is preposterous. This is a large, complex site with complicated adjacencies in a flood zone. Compare this to the thoughtful phase revitalization of the Brooklyn Navy Yard that is taking decades. That's an important comparison because the president of the EDC, Andrew Kimball, was president of the Brooklyn Navy Yard for 8 years, from 2005 to 2013, so he knows better. So what is driving the speed of the BMT process?
Shame.
If you're new to this story, the promised community benefits of the BMT sound good, of the EDC sound good, but it's a big but. The EDC has a long history of making promises in Red Hook they don't deliver. They also do this around the city. In Red Hook, they promised a lot of jobs at the cruise terminal. The cruise ship passengers would shop in Red Hook. Those promises were not fulfilled, and the EDC made no real efforts to make those things happen. The cruise terminal shore power was installed at the insistence of the community. Honor award to Adam Armstrong. It was badly installed by EDC and didn't work. Under Andrew Kimball, the EDC began touting that as the first shore power on the eastern seaboard, rebranding a failure as a success. That's a shameful way to treat an EJ community and shows how the EDC reframes facts. Note that our current council member, Alexa Alvarez, has had to write multiple bills to get the EDC to do the work or hold them accountable. Intro 4, Intro 860, and 861. My nonprofit, Portside, New York, is a classic example of the EDC's not fulfilling promises. They promised us space to create a maritime center in 2008 as a community give back to Red Hook. I'm going to say it again. Community give back to Red Hook also promises a benefit to the maritime community. And they made us do programs for 3 years and then dumped us completely. EDC promises now. You need to remember the story of Portside, New York before you jump on board and think, wow, sounds great, we're going to get that, okay? So our last council member, Carlos Menchaca, battled the EDC for years in Sunset Park and in Red Hook. So he got us space. We got out of the container port, thanks to him, in 2015, but only space for the Mary Whalen. So you think if you see the Mary Whalen, we're good. No, that's not the promise. That's not what we need. And in fact, if they provided the space they promised, we would actually already be doing a lot of things they are promising again now in terms of marine job training, experiential learning center, and the rest of that. So there's a lot more to say, but, you know, don't believe it from them. Thank you. And now it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Maria Nieto, who's a member of the Voices of the Waterfront.
Thank you. I'm Maria Nieto of Voices of the Waterfront. I'm here representing many of the residents on the footprint of the BMT. When the EDC announced the project in its sweeping vision for a harbor of the future on the Blue Highway last year, it was a cause for celebration. We celebrated because when the project was first announced, there was no mention of housing, nor did the memo of understanding reflect that either. In fact, housing was only mentioned at the end of the year, around the holidays, and right before the first vote was imminent. It was only then that the EDC said that luxury housing was needed to underwrite the cost of the port renovations. This type of sleight of hand and dirty machinations by the EDC speaks to why they're known as bad faith actors in Red Hook. The fact that shore power had to be legislated after years of toxic pollution from the cruise operators next door to where we live speaks to this. The EDC places profits over people consistently, emphatically, and unapologetically. Despite the fact that this false premise should be developed of public land using, the fact that this false premise that public land should be developed in order to fund the restoration of public infrastructure has been countered, including by Congressman Nadler and Borough President Reynoso, collectively, and our elected officials. The EDC and their apologists, Dan Goldman and Andrew Bernardus, have never wavered from this premise. In a rigged game where they hold all the cards, they have never felt the need to play fair. We refuse to accept a system that resembles a dictatorship. True resilience planning requires a democratic accountability, not centralized power. We know that luxury housing will inevitably and predictably lead to less affordable housing in our neighborhoods. It will rapidly accelerate displacement and speculation. This fact makes the probable betrayal of task force members Michelle De La Utz and Amanda Nichols to the mission of their nonprofits under their unfortunate stewardship all the more disastrous. Most at risk are the NYCHA neighbors we've talked to who have not even heard about the project. They are only now becoming aware of the threat it poses for their ability to stay in their beloved neighborhood and how it is robbing them of the maritime jobs that a truly invested and fostered port could bring. But most egregious are the Trumpian tactics being spouted by the EDC's Jennifer Sun, who publicly told President Reynoso that if they are not given the public land for development, they would dump trucks and other noxious uses there instead. She knows the health hazards that our neighbors have been demanding it be shut down because of. And threatening our neighbors with additional health hazards is unconscionable and it's extortion. This is something we would expect from our current president. We are at a very clear fork in the road, folks. On the one hand, we have a plan that kills Brooklyn's industrial and maritime future in favor of the very rich and which will devastate our communities for Andrew Kimball's last shot at redemption. Or we can follow Congressman Nadler's call to preserve the BMT for our economic future and our regional and national security. This path will make New York a powerhouse in the maritime industry and make heroes out of the elected officials who choose to invest and believe in American industry. In our recent conversation with Congressman Goldman, he admitted that the city made a bad deal. And by doing so, he is also admitting that our neighborhoods must pay once again for the EDC's greed and incompetence. The EDC's use of GPP will cut our communities out of a democratic process for shaping our future. We ask the congressman to stand with us in demanding democracy locally for his constituents. The test of Goldman's character will be if he fights for democracy locally when the cameras are not on. True democracy lives or dies in moments like these, when there's money on the table being hunted down by people who hold all the cards, And when elected officials who represent real people choose the people over the profits. There are 520 miles of waterfront in New York. We're asking to preserve just 122 acres of working waterfront that help make Brooklyn and New York what it is today. Stand with us, vote now, vote no, and let's have a real planning process for the BMT. Thank you.
Get in the photo. You have a sign, but Paul's the photographer. We got Paul. Everybody in the thing so that Paul can take our picture.
Push it together like we like. No,
We like each other. Get in this photo.